Alright guys, so we're doing a video on downsizing the tools, spares and bits and pieces, the type of tools that I'm going to be taking on the DR650 now. From what I was doing before, I've done a video on tools to take on a motorcycle trip. You'll get to see what has evolved from there for the DR650. So remember, this video is about the tools that I'm going to take on the DR650 and max the DR650. So that's my DR650 with all the bits and pieces that I've set up on it. And as I've said before, you know, obviously it all depends on what bike you've got, what mods you've made to it, and where you're bloody taking it. So just showing you what I've bloody done and what I'm not going to be taking, and you'll most probably think I'm a crazy bastard. Oh, I should have taken this or whatever. But that's the mindset that I've got to keep trying to get myself out of, is thinking about, you know, what if this happens? What am I going to do? So, first of all, I suppose, this toolbox that I made up, this is a pillowcase that I have, and I just have it jammed in the end there. But as you can see, it's so bloody clean, there's no dust on that. So that toolbox is well and truly dust proof and waterproof. I don't know about submerging it. I haven't had it submerged in water, but I reckon it would do pretty good. But I mean, you know, going through the river crossings and the ramble and all that dust and that, just no dust gets into it, so that's pretty good. So yeah, the first thing I've got is this pillowcase. Serves as two purposes. When I get it out, I can just grab all my tools, chuck it in there, put it down to wherever I want, or I can lay that down on the ground, give me a nice clean surface where I can put my tools on it or bits and pieces, whatever I'm changing. So for now, I'm just going to chuck them all in. So pretty much I've got in this tool box is the stuff that I've worked it out, but I'm going to grab it all out, put it on the stuff with all the stuff that I used to take, and we're going to weigh it, see how much it was, and what I'm not taking, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll quickly grab all this out. I'm getting there. Alright, that's empty. Alright, ooh, get up on the desk, I'll bring you over. Alright guys, so I've emptied all the stuff out onto the table, all the tools. So what I'm going to show you now is the stuff that I would normally carry on max. Just wherever I go, that's what goes on it. So one pillowcase. Two spare tubes, so one for the front, one for the rear. I label stuff because we've got other bloody spares and I'd never end up bloody knowing what's what. So those two. Now, I'm not going to fit everything on the scale, so I might have to do it in two sections. So those two. Normally carry 1 litre worth of oil. They're two 500 ml bottles. The air compressor, just a Tomcat air compressor. A lot of this, if you've seen the other video, the tools, you will have already seen that, but for some of you that you don't, slime, chain lube, the Leatherman. I'm going to include that in the tools because it is a tool that I use, well, can be used as a tool, but that'll actually be carried on me in the Oggio flight vest, and something that I'll use for other things. There you go, dog's barking because the postie's here. Has he stopped? Ah, it's alright, he's gone. Alright, so that is weighing just over 3.5. I'll keep going. So we've got duct tape, gotta have your duct tape. Zip ties, bit of wire, hacksaw blade, spoke tightener opera. Trying to get to an even amount on there so I can then bloody go. The factory set of spanners. And if I grab, oh yeah, a tyre remover thing, the valve tool or valve remover, a lighter, a pen. Ah, come on. I reckon to get that to 4 kilos, spanner or a shifter, small shifter. Alright, so that's got me just over 4 kilograms. I'll get all this off. Oh. And then continue. Okay, so I've got the epoxy stuff, which would then also have the quick steel stuff. WD-40. Got the bead buddy for taking the tyres off, and then of course 2 tyre levers, and obviously these fit the front and the rear axles, axle bolts. Another tyre lever, so that gives me 3 plus the bead buddy. Not that. This is a just a bolt. You can see the bolt there, and basically just undo that. And then all my little sockets come off, and they're in a range of, I actually can't bloody read this shit. There's a certain range, I won't go into it. These are, that's a Allen keys. That's just a PVC tube that I've split down the end there, and you can see the sizes of the aluminium Allen keys that are in there, and basically I can just push that, and then I have my little Allen key, and then I've got the ratchet that will work for that. Pair of multi or vice grip Duvalaki things. That's a small extension for the ratchet. On the other end is another socket that I couldn't fit on that bolt, so that just sits in there, and it's a tiny one that I needed for one of the bolt sets, and that's got that little adapter thing on it. That's a spark plug remover, so basically that sits in there, and then that sits in there. Oh, put an elastic band up. Good on you. Elastic band just holds it in there. A long extension lead, so you're getting into some of the bits that you need to get some access. That's that shifter thing. A chain breaker. I'll go through why I'm not taking certain things. The puncher kit, which has got a little story with it. That's the little thing off the WD-40. And then in your little bag of tricks here is a valve, so when you're changing your tyre, that's your valve puller through. Helps get it through easier. Bit of, what do you call it, sandpaper, doing like spark plugs. A couple of chain links. Spare fuses, and one of those things so you can check your gaps on your spark plug. Put all that in there. And that gives me just over 2.5, so that's 6.5, so I'd say 6.6, 6.7 kilograms of gear that I'm carrying on it. So that's spares and tools. I don't think I've left anything out. The only other thing would be like a hairnet for the, or a chucks, a dishcloth thing for the air filter. I wouldn't worry about bringing air filter oil or anything like that. So now what I'm going to do is offload all this, and then I'll run through all the stuff that I'm going to be taking now. Alright guys, so I've sorted myself out here. So again, 6.6 kilograms is what I carried before, spares and tools. I've also, I got Nate to read the sockets for me, and if you can see there, that's the range of sockets that I carry. And that's to suit the DR650 and of course with all the mods that I have on it. I'm not a mechanical genius or an expert or anything, as you guys already well bloody know, so don't go by me. That could be a starter for you, but check everything, because I can miss shit just as easy as the next bloke. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the things that I've changed over, swapped out just to make it a bit lighter. I think it's only one thing, and that was basically the ratchet bloody shifter thing. So that's what I had when I bought all the sockets and that. It came as a set and it came with that. But Nay had a set in there and hers was a little bit, I don't know, call it dinky dye I suppose. Still works perfectly, but that's lighter than that. So she gets this one and I get to have that one. So I'll swap that out. And then of course, to go with that, is all those sockets on that bolt. The large extension in here, that's your bloody spark plug remover, and in there is the smaller socket and then the shorter extension. Extensions are always really, really handy depending on where things are. The hacksaw blade, I'm not taking it. The way I see is if I'm going to break something, not need to make a modification of cutting something. So as light as that is and as thin and doesn't take much, I just don't need it. Some of this stuff that I've got, you know, the same as this, the bloody vice grips. Max is set up to go out, do adventures and whatever. It's not like a cafe racer or a fixer-upper type of bike. You know, those, I don't know what you call them, but a bike that you're always tinkering around with. They're bloody great fun. You know, you go down to the bloody cafe and something bloody electrical bloody goes on and you've got to fix it on the side of the road, and that's part of all the fun. This bike is not designed for that. So these things for tinkering, I don't need it. Basically, all I need is something to get me out of the shit and to the next town, where then I can use their garage or whatever to fix up if something needs fixing up. So they're gone. I'll still carry the factory set of spanners, because the sockets don't get everywhere. If you've got a bolt behind, you know, something like that, you've got something in there and you need to get up in there, you can't get a socket onto it. So that's handy to have those. The Allen key set. Now I've tried this with the Allen keys that I have. So these, and I have the long ones. You need to have those short ones are fine, but as soon as you've got something a little way in, they're an absolute bitch, or you just can't do it. So you've got to have the long ones. So when I worked out the weight of these, even though these look like they're quite, you know, heavy and bulky, there's no difference between the two. So I've gone with these. And of course I've got the extension part to fit on there to get into the long bits. The quick steel comes with me because that works fantastic. The epoxy is a great idea, but again, if something plastic or whatever breaks, I've got zip ties and duct tape. It's gonna get me out of trouble. So, you know, that's something you pull up at a town and you go into the general store, buy some of this and do it, you know, to fix it a bit more permanently until the end of the trip. So the epoxy's going, but I'm definitely keeping the quick steel. Duct tape, don't have to say it, keeping that. A pen. What the bloody hell do I need a pen for, really? Unless I'm a tinkerer. And in this case, I'm not. The shifter, I don't need the shifter because I've got something to fit all the bolts. A lot of this stuff is also the thoughts of carrying something that can help out somebody else. But when you're trying to get your weight down, you've got to look after yourself. So the shifter's gone. The spoke, Duvalaki. my spokes should be already checked and all good before I leave. And if it's some case, and the rims on this bloody DR650 and the whole tyre setup, and I'll go into that a bit further along, they're just so robust. So I don't need that. It's just a bloody gimmick thing for me to have in the toolbox. And worst case scenario, I use my multi-tool that has the pliers, and I'll be able to manage to turn those spokes anyway. So bit of wire, definitely keep that. A lighter. I don't need, having the lighter in my toolbox, I've got a lighter in my first aid kit, and I also carry a lighter because I'm a smoker. So I don't need a lighter in the toolbox. WD-40, I don't need the WD-40. It's a handy thing to have for if you need to, you know, loosen stuff up, but I'm trying to reduce the weight, so the WD-40 is going, and I can always use the oil that I've got. You know, get a bit on your fingers and put it on, or, you know, drip a little bit. Oil will get into places, so I'll just, that's an easy thing to have, but I'll just forego it. So to get the bloody, one thing that's likely to go is you're going to get a puncher. I've never had a puncher out of all the bikes that I've had, the Cruiser, the Postie bike, the DR650, I've never ever got a puncher. And then when me and Ken did the Simpson, there was 2 DR650s running the same tubes, the same tyres, same everything. Never got a puncher. We went through some bloody crap, I can tell you. Never got a puncher. So, what am I saying that for? I don't know. Why do I do this in the middle of bloody videos? Yeah, so basically they're really bloody strong, but that is something that can happen and is liable to happen. So I've got to have tools to be able to get the obviously the wheels off, and also the tyres and whatever. So bead buddy, 3 tyre levers, and of course they're the doodads to get the other doodads off. You know what I'm talking about. So they're all being kept. I'm gonna stick with the slime. I've said it before, I haven't used it, but it is such a simple thing to use on the side of the road to get yourself going, as long as you've got the right type of punch. If you split your sidewall or whatever, that's not going to work. But to be able to just pull a valve out, stick that on, squeeze it in, rotate it around, and then pump it back up and take off, get to the bloody next town, have a beer, then come out and then fix your tyre if that's what you want to do with. And what I'm going to be doing is, so I'm going to keep the slime, but the 2 spares, I'm not taking the spares. And I know you're going, oh my god, you can't take, bloody, you have to take your spares. Well, I'm now confident at taking the tyres off, removing the tubes, so they're going. So I'm confident with doing that and using patches to fix fix the tube. So I mean, obviously taking those tubes out, that reduces a heap. But this was the one. I think if you've seen when I was doing the fixing the puncher on the Postie, I was using this DRC little patch kit, and I said that the cap was loose. I thought I got it on okay. It was funny, I pulled all my stuff out when I was getting ready for this, and as you can see, obviously it being jiggled around in the toolbox, it's actually leaked. So if I was in the middle of nowhere, pulled this out, I would have been bloody, oh my god, I got no glue. That would have been devastating. Luckily there is actually, I can tell that I could have split the end here and got some decent glue out of it. But yeah, so I suppose a lesson learnt here is maybe put some duct tape over that cap to stop it from unscrewing if you're a bit unsure about that cap staying on. And I should have done that and I didn't do it. So that's going. I mean, they're cheap bloody things. I've actually now made up my own. I bought a whole heap of different things. It's on the side. I've got a standard kit and a deluxe kit, and it's basically it's all the same stuff. Basically, you know, it's just branded, but it has the tyre pressure checker and the tool valve and spare valves and spare caps, obviously all the patches and the glue. The cap actually fits on this one, well it stays on. So that's the one that I'm carrying now, which means I don't need that valve tool. The chain breaker. So obviously when you have a factory chain, which Max has got at the moment, he's still got his original factory chain, there's no master link in it. So if you need to get that chain off, you have to actually either try and grind off, cut off, or you can use a chain breaker to break that off and then put one of those spare links in. The reason I'm not taking this with me because before I do anything big, that chain is getting replaced. So I'm going to get what they call a super heavy duty, it's a 525, so it's still a 525 chain, which is the standard chain, but it's just a super heavy duty, it's an XC, I don't know, some stupid thing. But so it'll have a master link and I won't need to bust it. In my head, that makes sense. Someone out there might go, no, you still need it because of whatever. Let me know, but I think that's right. So that's gone. Of course, I'll still take the chain loop, because you've got to do that when you're out in the outback every morning. Or some people have said actually you should do it when you pull up because the chain's still warm to spray it on. But yeah, it should be a daily ritual when you're doing lots of kilometres. Of course, I need to pump air into the tyre, so air compressor coming. Zip ties are coming. The Leatherman, of course. The 2 bottles of oil is now changing to just 1. So that goes over there, that comes in there. I've never had to top up the oil in Max. It uses bugger all. So on a trip like, remember this is not for a around the world trip. This is for going out for, maybe the trip's going to last 2 weeks at the most. So 500ml is just in case, like I had with the Boulevard, where it bloody put a hole and it leaks them out. I was able to fix that, top it up, and then keep topping it until I got home. So I don't need a full litre, that's just silly. Crazy. The pillowcase still comes. And then all these little bits and pieces, the tyre puller, the valve puller, the checker, the fuses, all that kind of stuff, the linkages, that'll all still come. Alright. And that's it. And some people say, well, what about clutch levers and brake levers and bits and pieces, spare bits and pieces like that. I've got bark busters. The bike has been over that bloody many times and it's never had a problem with it busting one of those levers. So it's just, if it happens, and it can happen, you've just got to bloody well deal with it. But that's just one extra thing I just don't need to take. Alright, let's weigh it all up. Alright, let's see if I can fit all this in here. Put that in there, get all the little stuff. Alright, there we go. And that is 4.1 kilograms. Sweet. So there you go, guys. That's the tools. That's the tools and the spares that I'm going to be carrying for when I'm doing that hardcore shit. Well, the hardcore shit for me, anyway. Now, but with this toolbox, because it extends quite a way back, when I load all this stuff in, all the really heavy stuff, I didn't plan this, but when I was putting it all in there, all the really heavy stuff is actually sitting down here, not up here. So, and that's something I'll most probably do a video on, is the whole weight distribution and the dynamics and all that kind of stuff. I've tried to get half a clue about it and trying to read up on it. There's not a lot out there, and I think purely the reason is when you start reading the stuff and the technical stuff, it just goes straight over your head. there wouldn't be too many people that would really be able to fully understand all the shit that goes in with it. I know there are ones that some of you guys out there are bloody smart as, but just maybe a layman or a stupid bloke's kind of idea of understanding, you know, the weight distribution, whether it's, you know, having it too far here or too far forward or off the sides and on all that kind of stuff. I think I've got half an idea, but we'll see. So that'll be a video coming up. So I'm just going to whack all this stuff in to the toolbox. And this toolbox doesn't get too full, which is really good, because you don't want to be having to repack something the same way all the time, unless you do it day in, day out. You just, when you unpack something, anything, even side panniers, when you're at home and you're bloody, you know, you pack everything so bloody organised and tight, but then as soon as you pull up somewhere and you pull it all out, the next morning when you're trying to put it all back in, it never goes back in the same way. So whenever I pack now, I try and have it so that there's always room, so that when I pack it back in, and I pack it back in stupidly, I've still got room to fit it in anyway. So I'm going to load this up. The next video is going to be with the fuel tank. What I want to do is I'm going to drain it out because it's nearly empty, and drain it out. And I want to get, I'll take a jerry can over to the servo, fill up to 12 litres, and then refill that back up with 12 litres, and then weigh the bike. I'll take the tools out, and so why am I filling it? Because I'm going to have to bloody pull it all out anyway. And then I'll have the base with all the modifications that I've done, but no luggage or tools and bits and pieces, what the bike has changed to. So from being 166 stock, what it is now with all the modifications. And we can go from there. Alright guys, I've crapped on enough. I'll see you in the next video. Keep on riding. Alright guys, while this bloody credit thing's running, as per usual, I always forget stuff. So I just quickly put the rest of the tools in there, so that's all in there. Plenty of room. It's full, but I didn't have to jiggle around or anything to get it in. So that doesn't go in there because I use that, so that'll be in the side pannier. Use that every day. Oil doesn't fit in there, so that'll go in the side pannier. That goes in the Ogio Flight Vest, the multi-tool, and it's something that I can use all the time. And then of course the air compressor doesn't fit in there, so that'll go in the side pannier. So that's pretty good. That'll give me a lot more room with the side panniers, but I've got to remember, even though I've got extra room in these panniers, I can't fill them. I've just got to put what I need, which is the whole exercise of this stuff. I will let out the bag that I did talk about the chain and getting the 525 XC something or other, whatever chain. It's the super heavy duty one, which will avoid the use of having to have the chain breaker, because it'll be have a master link on it. The other thing that I'm going to do is change the gearing. So at the moment I have the stock 41 sprocket on here, and I have a 14 tooth sprocket on the front. Now by stock they have a 15 on the front and the 41 on the back. I reduced the 15 down to a 14, so it gave me a bit more grunt. It wasn't as a tall ratio. The whole ratio stuff, I've only just starting to get my head around how this all bloody works. I like sticking to just having that one, but then when you factor in how the back one and they work opposites and whatever, but basically what I'm going to change to is get that new chain, change the 41 tooth here to a 44, and keep and change back to the 15, which was the stock size for the front sprocket, and that's going to give me just a little bit more grunt than I've changed it to, which I needed, you know, for around here and on the rambles and all that kind of stuff. It's perfect, but in the trickier stuff, having a bit more grunt or whatever, it just will make a big difference to the bike. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm splashing out. I'm getting the new rear spring, so it'll be an 8 kilogram spring for the rear. The stock I think is 6.7 or something is its kilogram, so it's a lot spongier, I suppose you'd call it. So I'm going to go to an 8, which will make it a lot stiffer. Everybody's been telling me, do the bloody suspension, for Christ's sake, Mark, you bloody idiot. So I'm doing it, alright? So that's going to do it, and I'm going to do it myself. I was thinking I might go and get it done properly, you know, just in my head I go, shit, you know, I'll end up stuffing it and then I'll be buggered or whatever, but I'm going to do it myself and I'll video the whole thing for you guys. So, new rear 8kg spring, a new set of fork springs. I think the ones that come, you can have 3 different settings and using different weights of oils. I've got to work all that out, but I'll be doing that, and I'm even going to splurge. There's some, what do they call them? Some type of valve that goes in, and there's gold valves and T valves or something. It does something to the oil, the way it works. Most of you guys know what I'm talking about. Apparently I don't. So there's normal ones and then there's gold ones, but I've got to talk. I'm going to talk to Vince Strand, or the guys from Vince Strand, and just make sure that I'm getting myself right with my weight and the weight that I'm carrying. But I've pretty much worked out the 8kg, the front springs, and whether it's really an advantage to use that valve thing. I can't remember the name of it now. And I'm also going to go bugger it. I'm going to get one of those steering dampeners. My idea was, you better learn the way it is, and you know, fairly stock, and the steering dampener is kind of like cheating, but it's not. It's there for a purpose, and you look at all the race bikes, they all have them. So the pros are using steering dampeners, so why the hell a dickhead like me, I should be using one. So that's what's going to be happening in the up and coming stuff. There's still heaps to do, but anyway. Alright guys, that's it. I'm out. See ya.